is your Classic Metal Show right here on theclassicmetalshow.com. That is brand new stuff from the band Tremonti. The name of that tune was Throw Them to the Lions. The name of the album is A Dying Machine. And here's a guy that's on anything but a dying machine. He's on two very active, lively machines, I guess, with Alter Bridge and, of course, Tremonti. It is the guitarist and the vocalist of Tremonti. It is Mark Tremonti. Mark, how are you, man?
Good. How you doing?
Excellent, man. Well, Mark, I got to say, man, if you're nothing else, forget all the accolades that you get as a guitarist or as a singer or as a performer, all that. If you're nothing else, you are ambitious, man. This new record is got to be the most ambitious thing that you've done yet, man. Very cool stuff.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Well, I got to ask right off the bat, man, tackling a concept for somebody that really hasn't done it before and has recorded kind of in a certain way, as far as writing music and recording music, how difficult was that for you to A, build the concept, and then B, write music to tell the story that you were trying to tell?
It was a challenge, but it was, in some ways it was easier because I knew what path I was going to go on. The hardest part was, opening up the mind and the imagination to figure out what the next scene of the story would be. And then, once you got 5 or 6 steps deep into it, it kind of rolled itself out for you. So it was a good challenge.
Sure. Is it the kind of thing though, where you can be more creative, or does it stunt the creativity a little bit? Just because you have to fill in gaps instead of just exploring musically, where you might just be able to just freewheel a little more, on records that do not have a theme all the way through.
I mean, I tried to make the music just as dynamic and diverse as any record, even though it followed a storyline. There's different perspectives in the story. I actually got to go outside the box a little bit and do things that I wouldn't normally be able to do because I'm singing from somebody else's perspective, which it took off any kind of inhibitions to sing about a certain theme or topic or in a certain way.
Sure. Now I understand, and tell me if I'm wrong, but you wrote a novel to accompany this, or you wrote the novel first and then wrote the music behind it. Is that correct?
No, the story for the album came first, and then about 3/4 of the way through, I thought it would be great to include, the story to go along with it, so people understood exactly what the story was about. And at first, I thought maybe just a short little Cliff Note version of the story. Then I thought maybe a graphic novel. Then I was like, you know what? I've got a bucket list item that I've always wanted to get not always, but maybe for the last 10 years, I wanted to get a book published because I'm such a big fan of authors. I think they're so impressive and with their imaginations, and I thought, maybe one day I'll be able to chase that down. So I figured this was the best time to go after it. So I did.
No doubt. Now I could tell you, I have 4 published books myself, and I'm working on a few more
right
on the side. And as somebody that's written books, and I mean, I'm by no means am I some kind of fancy great author or anything, but I know one thing. It's not easy to write a book, especially when you haven't done it before. There's a lot more to it as far as, making sure that you're telling a complete story and not half of a story. Was it difficult for you, or did you find it challenging to do, or did it just kind of happen easily?
Well, the story itself that happens throughout the book kind of happened. It was hard to figure out where it was going to go, but it was exciting and a cool adventure to go on. And then when I decided that I wanted to do the novel, at first I was like, you know what, I can do it. I can just work around the clock and get it done. But then I realized, the record's coming out in 6 months, 7 months, back then 7 months. And I said, you know what, I have to partner up with somebody. So at first I was going to hire a ghostwriter, just tell them the story bit by bit. And then finally I was like, you know what, I contacted my agent, my booking agent, and he's part of UTA, which is United Talent Agency that houses the whole literary department. So I said, you guys have any authors that fit this genre that I could partner up with? And I think we went through about 9 authors before we got to John Shirley. And I looked at his resume and read a lot of his stuff, and he is a specialist in futurism. He knows where technology is going, and this book has a lot to do with where technology is going. So when I explain the story, Yeah, he helped me connect the dots scientifically, and so the story wasn't just kind of a pie in the sky idea. He helped me make scientific sense, and it's all relatively believable.
Sure. Now, with working with a writer, did you find that your story changed or adapted to maybe some knowledge that he brought to the table that you didn't have when you wrote the basic concept?
No, I mean the basic concept in general is intact. I think just along the way, we kind of go chapter by chapter, talk about where it's going next and what's happening here or there, and he'd bring up things that would spawn new ideas for me, and it's just like writing a song, really. It's like
Sure.
When I get together with Miles and write a song, we throw ideas back and forth. So once I had when I got with John, I explained the story to him from start to finish a lot of times, and finally I said, do me a favor and try to write an outline of the story the way you think I've laid it out, and he brings me back a 29-page outline. So
Right.
So we dug into that outline over and over and over until it was done. And now, we just pick each chapter apart as we go and try to make it stronger and stronger. And we just got through the very end of the book. We're still revising some of the final 2 chapters, but once we do that, we're going to go back to the very beginning of the book, and because I think the story's gotten much stronger as it's gone on. Now I want to revisit the beginning at the same excitement level we have now, and see if we can strengthen up maybe chapters 2 and 3.
Sure. Now let me ask a question that you might not be able to answer, but I'm gonna make an assumption that you know how to do this in music and maybe not with writing. And tell me if I'm wrong, but do you feel like you're going to be able to let it go? And what I mean by that is, I know when musicians write music, you guys never like it 3 minutes after it's done. No matter what you do, 5 minutes later, you're like, well, if I would have just changed this, it would have been better or whatever. Are you going to be able to do that with the book?
I have been going through this book around the clock so many times that I've gotten to know exactly where I think the story has its weakest spots and its strongest spots. So I'm going to go and attack those weakest spots to make the whole thing strong. And I've explained my thoughts to John, and he agrees. We're gonna make this ending as tight as it can be, and then go back and revisit the very beginnings of the book. Because I feel like chapter 4, it's great. I think we have to just go back and revisit the very beginning of the book, and then it'll be 100% solid.
Sure. Now, just outsider looking in, Mark, right now, I mean, you're obviously releasing A Dying Machine, both the release and now the book will be coming right behind it. So you're going to be obviously super busy. Miles, they just announced that they're doing a Slash record that's coming out in October, which I'll assume that there's touring behind that as well. Does that mean that Alter Bridge kind of is like on, I don't want to say on hiatus, but is probably not going to see any real action until maybe late 2019 at the earliest?
That's when our record will come out, 2019. But we want to hit the festivals with the Tremonti band next summer, so we have to get in the studio beforehand, maybe with Alter Bridge, because it takes 3 or 4 months to set up an album. So we might. I think we'll start getting together in the spring for a week around here and there to get writing, and then we'll just find the best spot in between tours to record.
Right. Is that going to be an easy thing all by itself with you guys being so busy?
No, it's going to be tough, but it's going to be. But we won't put it out and finish writing until we feel it's done. Sure.
I definitely hear you, man. Well, one last quick thing, man, and this is something I don't even know if you're aware of it. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. I follow you guys, or I did follow Alter Bridge on social media, but I ended up specifically on Twitter. But I actually had to unfollow you guys on Twitter because every single time you guys do anything, and I mean anything, if you play a gig, if you release a new poster or whatever it is, your fans go more crazy than any other band that I've ever followed on social media. I mean, when you guys play a gig and 500 posts about that gig are there, to where you can't, like, your Twitter feed gets dominated by Alter Bridge, which is a great thing for you guys. What do you think? Yeah. What do you think it is about your band that has developed, such a closeness and such a rabid fan base for you guys? Because they really are. Wow, I mean, they're really, really rabid.
Oh yeah, I think it has to do with kind of the subject matter and the approach the band takes. It's, a lot of bands are just doing hard rock and just having a good time playing, fun party rock. But I think a lot of our subject matter deals with some emotional stuff, and bands, they just really get involved and get kind of dedicated and committed to this band. So it's more of like a family. You see a lot of these fans that travel to every single show on a tour, and they follow a group of people that become really close friends within the fan base. So it's a great thing.
No doubt, man. Well, Mark, the new album is called A Dying Machine. The band is Tremonti, of course, and for anybody that hasn't bought all the Alter Bridge stuff, I recommend you buy that stuff as well, because it is amazing. Well, Mark, as a tradition on the show, we always let the artist pick the closing track, maybe tell us a story about it. So what song would you like us to wrap this one up with?
Let's do it with the title track, A Dying Machine. It's the seed that planted the whole concept.
All right, easy enough. Let's do it right now. It is A Dying Machine from Tremonti, right here on your Classic Metal Show.